He charged through cannon fire, led men against impossible odds, and stood beside Napoleon until the bitter end. From a cooper's son to Marshal of France, Michel Ney's life was a story of courage, loyalty, and tragedy. They called him Le Brave des Braves, the bravest of the brave, and his death would mark the end of an empire. Michel Ney was born on January 10 in 1769 in Saint-Louis, a small town on the French-German border. His father was a cooper, a barrel maker, and the family lived modestly. Ney received only basic schooling before working as a clerk, but the winds of change were blowing through Europe. In 1707, at just 18 years old, Ney enlisted in a hussar regiment. The French Revolution soon transformed him from a humble soldier into one of France's greatest commanders. His energy, fearlessness, and charisma made him stand out. By the early 1790s, during the Revolutionary Wars, he fought across the Rhine and Moselle, earning rapid promotion through sheer bravery. Ney's rise was deeply tied to the spirit of the French Revolution, where promotions were earned through merit rather than birth. The new republic rewarded bravery and ability over noble lineage, allowing soldiers like Ney to climb from humble beginnings to positions of command. During the 1790s, France was surrounded by enemies: Prussia, Austria, and other royal coalitions. Ney fought under generals like Kleber and Hoch, mastering cavalry tactics and the art of mobile warfare. By 1796, he had distinguished himself at Freiburg, Kehl, and Huning, leading daring charges that shattered enemy lines. Wounded multiple times, he always returned to the fight. His men adored him for leading from the front, and his saber flashing through smoke and chaos. When Napoleon rose to power, he quickly noticed Ney's talent. But before the two met each other, Ney had already made a name for himself during the campaigns on the Rhine. He had earned a fierce reputation for personal courage and actions such as Kaup and at Neuwied. These reports were well known to the ambitious Bonaparte. Ney, for his part, knew of Napoleon's victories in Italy and regarded him as a brilliant but distant figure. After the coup of the 18th Brumaire, Napoleon was unavoidable in France's future. The first recorded personal encounter came in 1800, when the newly installed First Consul reviewed the generals of the Army of the Rhine. And there, Ney was quickly drawn into the new government's military restructuring. During the campaign in Germany, Ney served under Moreau rather than Napoleon, but once again distinguished himself at Engen and Meeskirch, where his aggressive use of light infantry earned him praise even with Bonaparte's inner circle. In the subsequent years, the relationship deepened through administrative and diplomatic assignments. Napoleon entrusted Ney with the occupation of Switzerland during the creation of the Helvetic Republic, a task demanding both firmness and discretion. Ney's success convinced Napoleon that this soldier also possessed a surprising political steadiness. By 1803, as tensions with Britain resumed, Ney was moved to the Army of Boulogne, the great invasion camp that served as the embryo of Napoleon's future Grande Armée. Here, the two men interacted far more frequently. Napoleon noted Ney's ability to inspire troops simply by appearing in their ranks, while Ney, often blunt and fiery, grew more comfortable speaking honestly in the Emperor-to-be's presence. Their bond was not personal affection, but mutual recognition. Napoleon saw in Ney the embodiment of fearless offensive spirit, and Ney regarded Napoleon as the one commander capable of giving such spirit its fullest purpose. Thus, when Napoleon proclaimed the empire in May 1804, Ney's elevation to Marshal of France on 19th of May was not merely ceremonial. It was the culmination of 4 years in which the first consul had tested, observed, and ultimately confirmed Ney as one of the indispensable pillars of his new military order. An honor reserved for the most skilled and loyal officers. As one of Napoleon's marshals, Ney's career reached legendary status. He fought in nearly every major campaign of the empire. From Austerlitz to Jena, Friedland and Eylau, his reputation grew not from politics but from the battlefield. And wherever Ney rode, his soldiers followed. At Eschlingen, during the Ulm campaign, Ney led a decisive assault, forcing the Austrians to surrender thousands of men. For this, Napoleon granted him the title Duke of Elchingen. In the Peninsular War, Ney commanded in Spain and Portugal, battling the British under Wellington. Despite poor coordination among marshals, Ney's discipline and fearlessness earned him respect, even from his enemies. When Napoleon crossed into Russia in June 1812 with more than 615,000 men, the greatest army Europe had ever assembled at that time, he expected a swift and decisive campaign. But within weeks, the march across 3,000 kilometers of heat and disease had already cost him nearly a third of his forces. The first major battle came at Smolensk in August, where Napoleon attacked with 180,000 men against 120,000 Russians. Ney's relentless assaults helped force the Russians to withdraw, but the city burned and no true breakthrough was won. The French then pushed onto Moscow, entering the capital in September, with only 95 to 100,000 effective troops left. Discovering too late that the Russian strategy of retreat had hollowed out the invasion. As winter closed in and the retreat began, Ney's Third Corps, officially 12,000 men strong, had already been whittled down to just 6,000 men, a sign of the larger collapse consuming the Grande Armée. At Krasnoy, Ney's isolated corps was attacked by more than 20,000 Russians, and after a brutal breakout, fewer than 900 men remained with him. Surrounded and outnumbered, he fought on, leading a handful of survivors through snow and fire to rejoin Napoleon. His night crossing of the frozen Dnieper River while carrying a musket turned him into a legend, even as the army disintegrated. At Smolensk and Borodino, Ney rallied his troops amid chaos, his coat torn by bullets, his horse collapsing beneath him. The physical toll was immense, but the emotional burden was greater. As the army froze and starved on its retreat from Moscow, Ney became the soul of resistance, refusing to abandon even a single wounded soldier. Exhausted but unbroken, Ney returned to camp, with his eyes hollow from days without rest. Napoleon embraced him, declaring, "I have 180,000 men, but I would give them all to have another Ney." From that moment, history would forever know him as the bravest of the brave. The invasion of Russia tested Ney's endurance like never before. By the end of 1812, fewer than 120,000 survivors escaped Russia, and among them, Ney stood as the symbol of a campaign destroyed by distance, fire, frost, and the sheer impossibility of the Russian land. By 1814, the French Empire was collapsing under the weight of coalition armies. Ney fought in the defense of France, commanding at La Rotière, Montereau, and Arcis-sur-Aubais. He remained loyal to Napoleon until the very end. When Paris fell and Napoleon abdicated in April 1814, Ney swore allegiance to the restored king, Louis XVIII, promising to serve the new monarchy. The exhausted general hoped for peace, but destiny had other plans. In March 1815, Napoleon escaped exile on Elba and marched toward Paris. Ney, stationed with royal troops, vowed to bring him back in an iron cage. Yet, when he met his old emperor, loyalty and history overcame politics. This meeting revealed Ney's inner conflict, torn between his oath to the monarchy and his lifelong loyalty to Napoleon. France was divided. Royalists feared the emperor's return, while soldiers still adored him. Ney, a soldier bound by honor to both, was swept up by emotion and duty. But Napoleon embraced him, and Ney joined his cause once again. At Waterloo, he commanded the French left wing. He led repeated cavalry charges against the British squares, fighting with unmatched bravery, even after losing 5 horses beneath him. Ney fought on foot, saber drawn, covered in mud and gunpowder, urging his men forward until the very end. When the French army broke, Ney refused to flee. "If death will not come to me," he cried, "then I will go to meet it." After Napoleon's final defeat, Ney was arrested for treason by the restored Bourbons. His defection during the 100 Days sealed his fate. Despite appeals for mercy, even from foreign officers who admired him, King Louis XVIII ordered his execution. On December 7, 1815, Michel Ney faced a firing squad in Luxembourg Gardens in Paris. He refused a blindfold, stood tall, and gave his final command. "Soldiers, when I give the word, fire straight at my heart. Wait for my command. Vive la France!" He gave the order himself. The volley rang out, and the bravest of the brave fell where he stood. And this actually is kind of similar to how Joachim Murat also, passed away. If you don't know about Joachim Murat, you should check out this video I made about him. It's also one of Napoleon's great marshals. Michel Ney's courage continues to resonate today, echoing modern ideas of honor, duty, and integrity, even in the face of failure. His story captures also the essence of the Napoleonic era: courage, loyalty, and the tragedy of man caught between ideals and empires, like many others, during that time. He rose from a copper son to Marshal of France. He led armies across Europe and became a symbol of fearless command. And in the end, he died with the same honor he had shown in battle. Even today, his name is carved on the Arc de Triomphe amongst France's other heroes. Statues in Paris and his birthplace in Saint-Louis remind us that true bravery is not just about victory. Michel Ney, the bravest of the brave, served France until his very last breath. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learned something new. If you want to support the channel, please leave a subscription if you haven't already. What other historical figure or topic should I do next? And as always, this is HistoryCrafts, where history crafts itself.